Assalamu alaikum students. In today's session, I will share with you the basic things about SQL transactions. Prior to that, in previous lecture, we studied how can we create views and what are the benefits of creating views. Basically, those are virtual tables. And being virtual tables, how we can use those tables with our applications and how it might help the user to have tables according to their customized needs. So what we have studied up till now, basically we are dealing with the transactions that may be due to some business processes those are carried out, and those transactions within those databases, like you have to update the data, you have to edit the data, and you have retrieved the data basically, and how such transactions should be managed. It might happen that more than one users are working on the same table, and then how such concurrency may be uh, may be managed in order to avoid some sort of conflicts that may arise due to transactions those are not uh, carried out as intended, or there might be some sort of failures due to software or hardware, and that transaction could not be completed. So how we have to control these? So within this lecture, I will share with you the basic aspects. What does mean a business transaction and how it is reflected in the database systems, whether our SQL statements help to complete such tasks, and the transactions carried out, whether those transactions carried out have changed the data or still they are in waiting conditions and the data is accessed by another user. So there are some sort of problems that we have to say how it might be controlled. What is the purpose of currency control? This is the major topic that we have to discuss today. Further, how can we confirm that a transaction had successfully carried out? There is no ambiguity within that. At the end, we say there are some sort of privileges that may be given to the users that a database administrator can grant. We have already discussed about that, so it is a bit a repetition of that. So considering a transaction, it might be series of action which access cause changes to be made to the data stored in a database. Because you have created a database and further you have created a table, the different action those are to be carried out on the part of the user. Basically, we have to access the data, we have to update the data, and those changes, those may be due to editing or updation, those should be carried out by the users. All these are transactions. So as a consequences, the database may be please be changed. Whenever you have gone through a transaction, it might be the status of the table has been changed. So these transactions may initiate some sort of update functions. Furthermore, we can consider that if a number of transactions have been made within a table, and we may take it as a single unit logically, although you can say there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actions are taken in consecutive order, but at the end I say that this is the one unit of transaction. It depends upon that if we say when this transaction is initiated and when this transaction has ended. So within all those, the number of actions those are taken to be, those may be a transaction. So if you define the transaction, it is a sequence of one or more statements that must all be executed successfully in order to complete a specific task. It might happen that sometimes, yeah, you have given some sort of sequence to statement and that is executed, and within its execution, there might be some sort of malfunctioning, so it could not be completed. So we say this transaction is partially completed. So whether this partially completed transaction is valuable for the other user or not. So the actions are the series of actions carried out by the user or any program that may read the data, that may update the data, that may edit the data. So these may be a transaction. So SQL may provide some statements regarding begin transaction and transaction in order to group those transactions in a single unit. So it depends upon the software you are using that may help you to go for such begin transaction and transaction statements. A transaction is simply a sequence of SQL statements that is packaged as a single entity. I already told you, if you carried out, suppose in the very beginning I have carried out a read action. After that I update the data. Furthermore, I edit the data. Yeah. So if I consider that this is a single transaction, then these all group of actions may be a single transaction. So one thing that the statements executed in a transaction is considered as atomic unit of the work. Either all the executed successfully or any work performed is undone if any ambiguity raised. So it might happen. I already told you that sometimes if you're carrying out execution of the SQL statements and some of the statements that may have some sort of malfunction, that might be due to hardware problem, that might be some software problem. So that transaction is not completed. So although we say the statement executed transaction is considered an atomic unit of work, whether we say it might happen that I only executed one statement. It might also that I have executed two or three statements. By I may take as a unit, logical unit. So whether it is successfully executed or work performed is undone. If it's not successfully carried out, so at the end, the resultant of such actions might be we have to roll back because it has not been executed successfully. So what you have to say, you have to say that an action or number of actions, those may be considered as a logical unit, a single unit that may be a transaction. SQL transaction automatically begins with the translation initial SQL statements executed by a user. Whenever you give any statement, the SQL statement, you have to execute it. Your transaction automatically begins. It is initiated. So SQL statement group together to form a transaction between begin and end transaction. We have to group that. If we need that, whenever we have to begin transaction and when we have to end, at the end we have to take as a single unit. The statements are typically independent and these must be executed to maintain database consistency. We say the statements are carried out one by one, but at the end we say the consistency of the database should not be suffered. So in order to control those, we have some sort of rules or protocols, and those should be obeyed in order to keep our databases consistent. There is a simple example of this transaction. I have the two commands that we already discussed with you. One is rollback and one is commit. Commit means that the transaction that you have done, at the end we say whether the changes should be permanently made or not. So we likely to say commit. And if we say due to some reason the transaction is partially executed and we are not satisfied with that, or due to some malfunction we feel that this transaction has not been fully successfully executed, then what we have to do, we have to roll back. So within this you have to say this is you have a database and you have work performed on that. After that you have commit. It mean that the changes that you have made to the table or the database has been finalized. Furthermore, the rollback, you have a database and you have performed some work and then you say commit. After that, again, you have perform and work, and that work you say it is not carried out and it's not successfully carried out. So you have to say rollback. It means it will go back to the first status where that already exists. So there is also auto commit because some of the SQL statements, those are basically auto committed when they are executed and they are committed. Furthermore, we have auto rollback. It means if something is not happening properly here, then it is again rolled back to the previous state, the status quo state of that database. So these are the things that are related with your transactions. So this is one of the example. Let's suppose this you have read a data that about the balance of any balance. You may say the balance with the bank, and you say the balance should be updated and it should be added with value of 10. So balance equal balance plus 10. Then I have to write and then I say commit. It means these changes should be made within the value of the balance. And how this transaction processing is carried out in the very beginning when we say read a balance, this is and say balance is equal to balance minus 10. So what we have say we have decremented this balance by the value 10. I'd say right balance. Up to here the things are going consistent, and here say right balance then read balance. Here if another transaction is doing that, when I say this is balance is equal to balance plus 10, at that moment he is also read the balance and say the balance is equal to balance minus 10. Here he has added and here has minus. If they are not executed in order, so there might be some sort of problem. So there might be some sort of inconsistency within that. Here the same is read at the same time, and here it is added and here is subtracted. Again it is carried out. So this at the end, if you say the database might be consistent or not consistent. Up to here, if this is done, then it is inconsistency is there. Again you say balance is balance plus 10, then write, then commit. After commitment you say the data should be database should be consistent. So regarding the properties of transaction, we say the atomicity, all or nothing property. We say when a transaction is executed, either it is failure, either it is success. So there is no more than that. So whether it is a successfully completed or not successfully completed. Furthermore, consistency must transform database from one consistent state to another. We always expect that when a transaction is carried out, the database should be consistent. There should be no inconsistency. If there is inconsistency, it may create some sort of ambiguity with our values, with our output. Furthermore, isolation. Partial effects in complete transaction should not be visible to the transactions. If we say if a transaction is carried out until it is committed, what are the changes it is being made in the table or the database that should not be reflected to other users. This is isolation. And the last one is durability. The effects of committed transactions are permanent and must not be lost because of later failure. Whenever you have a transaction is carried out and you say commit, so the changes are permanently there. You can't roll back that even and such committed transactions are permanent. And if an other transaction that is carried out after that and that transaction is failure, not successful, but it does not affect the earlier transaction that you have committed. Regarding transaction support, we have two outcomes: whether the transaction is successfully completed, so transaction commits and database reaches a new consistent state. We have already told you that whenever a transaction is executed, there may be a change in the state of the database. So if it is successfully committed, so now the database reaches a next state, and that state must be consistent. Further, the failure transactions may be failure. You have aborted the transaction, or there are some sort of malfunctioning of the software. The transaction is not completed as desired. So what we have to do, we have to restore the consistent state before it started. What we have to do, we have to say the rollback. Rollback means the system will reach the earlier state that was a consistent state of the database. So this now the inconsistency that is raised due to failure of the transaction that may be ignored. So such a transaction is rolled back or undone. When we have to roll back the transaction, when we see that the transaction is not carried out successfully, so there might be some sort of malfunctioning, or we have aborted that. So the in that manner, the database is not consistent because due to some this partial transaction, there might be some sort of changes, and still these changes are not to be committed because these changes are still there, but it has not been permanently done. So we have to roll back, and where we have to roll back, the state from where we started, the last query that we have started when the query begins, and prior to that, what were the query was that, and how it was carried out successfully, and what was the status of that database at that moment. So we have to reach back to that status. So this is in case of failure. So committed transactions can't be aborted. If we executed a transaction and with the help of the SQL command commit, you have committed it, then it is not possible to get it rolled back. So aborted transactions that is rolled back can be restarted later. What does mean? If we say that I have rolled back, it means the transaction now the currently carried out that is not committed. So we have to reach the previous state of the database. Again, we have to carry out the same transaction. We have to restart that transaction, and we say whether it is fully successful or not. So this is pictorial notation of the transaction support. In the very beginning, you have said there's a begin transaction. In this, there is some sort of uh, actions; those are carried out. Yeah, and furthermore, the transaction may end. Within that, begin and end, we have to say whether it is partially committed or whether it is failed. Yeah, there might be two: abort and this is partially committed. If this is also partially committed, we have to abort it. Otherwise, the data may be inconsistent with you. And furthermore, if it is fully executed properly, then we have to commit it, and this is committed. So in case this is partially committed, it is better to abort that, and you have to restart your execution of the transaction. Otherwise, the data that is available within that status, that is the current status, if we haven't rolled back, then data may be inconsistent. So these transactions need to be managed, because if we did not control these transactions, then we may face some sort of problems. Uh, for example, more than one users are working on the same database, and one transaction is one person is adding some values to a column. On the same time, the other transaction, they also have read the same value, and he has also made some sort of transactions, and he's not updating the values. He is basically deleting that record, and in that manner, if they are concurrently carried out, so if they're not controlled properly, then we lead to some sort of data mismanagement, and data should be inconsistent. So in that manner, what the database system you are using, it must ensure that in case of two transactions are accessing the same data, then these two transactions do not leave the data in inconsistent state. This is only when two users or three users are working on the same table, on the same record, let's suppose, then if they are not successfully completed, if they are at some sort of interference with each other, so in that manner, we may go for inconsistent data. So the data management systems, they will support you how this is inconsistency should be avoided. The database system you are using, it must ensure the data is capable to recover from hardware software failures. There should be some means available with those database management software, database management system, that if some transactions are not carried out properly, there might be due to some malfunctions and they have been aborted, that the database may help you to go back to the state when the database was consistent. So if that failure has causes some sort of damages, so we may go back with the help of the rollback statement, and we say from where we started these transactions, we have to reach that state in the very beginning, and then we have to again restart our transactions. The database management you are using, it must facilitate enforcement of the security. We also bit, but there is another lecture that if I have time, I will give you how that security measure should be taken within the databases. Database also provide the security concerns. It will help you to maintain the security. The database must provide support for managing integrity constraints. We also discussed within our previous lecture that the integrity constraints should be maintained by the database management system, whether we are using our original tables, the base tables, whether we are using our views. So the integrity constraint, those in the very beginning, you say when you created a database and you created a tables, and what you have reflected at that moment, and that should be observed properly throughout when you're using that database. Concurrency control is the major thing that we have to look for. So if some operations or actions are carried out simultaneously on the database without them interfere with one another, so we say that that should be kept in a manner that if some transactions are carried out simultaneously, so they should not interfere with each other. So if a user is working on a single record, he is likely to change it, and another also retrieving that record. And if that record is still in transaction processing, and the other person has get the data of that record, so although it is partially implemented, or you say that it is successfully implemented but the change is still not committed, and that user rollback, so what the data is read by a person, that is the data, that is the existing data, when that uh, when that transaction is being carried out, and even still it is carried out, it has been successfully completed but not committed. You say, we only say it is successfully completed when we commit it, and still it's not committed. but due to some reason the user has rolled back these things. So the data other user that got during this period, that is wrong. That is not the data, not the status of that database, because the status of database has changed due to rollback. So when these such things occur, those must have some sort of control to be based consistency. So concurrency control also prevents interference between two or more users accessing database simultaneously, and at least one is updating data. So it might happen the two users, they are only reading the data, are accessing the data. The one is accessing the data and other is updating the data. So it might happen. So the concurrency controls will help us to control this interference from users with each other. It might happen that two transactions may be correct in themselves. Interleaving of operations may produce an incorrect result. We say if the two persons are working on that and they have did their transactions, but within that might be some operations that may produce incorrect results. So in that manner, the concurrency control protocols may help us to keep our data consistent. So if some person asks you that why concurrency control is needed, so the potential problem that are caused, basically the lost update problem, one, uncommitted dependency problem, two, and inconsistent analysis problem. There are the three problems that may occur. So in order to cope with that, we surely the concurrency control is needed. And I will discuss one of each. The one is lost update problem. It is related that the transaction A updates has been lost since transaction B update has overwritten it. For example, there are two transactions, those are being carried out simultaneously. So the transaction A update has been lost because let's suppose this is the transaction A, it is uh, doing with the record 21. So here say with the record 21, some of the seats available for any passenger, there are 10 seats. So it has increased seat to seat plus one. So it should be 11 here. And say write record and commit. So in that manner, you say I am adding one more value to the variable to the this value of the seats. So this is now 11. Within that, what had happened? This is a transaction B. It reads the records. It the transaction A also reads the record. The transaction B also reads the record. In the very beginning, you say the seats are 10 at time 0. At time t1, the seats are again 10. Yeah. At time 2, the seats are being updated. So in that manner, here the read 21 record. When it reads, it only reads that the status of the seats were 10. States it's not incremented, but in process of incrementing. So it say this is 10. After that, he committed that. But what he had done, he seats a seats plus 11. So he here when he committed at T3, when say the write record at this the seats were 11. Yeah. And he has committed this change. And furthermore, what the transaction 2 has done, he say write record. When the write record, it must be now 16 rather than it is 16, now it is 15, because within this the number of seats were 10. He is added that the 5 seats and she is write the seats 15. So commit is 15. So in this manner, the data that is updated by the transaction A that has been overwritten, because within this transaction A, the number of seats should be 11, and those 11 should be now here incremented by 5, they should be 16, but that has been ignored here. The transaction that has been made on A, that has not been considered by the transaction 2. So this problem is called lost update problem. within the last update problem, the transaction A has updated the records, but that record transaction B has ignored that updation and he has overwritten that. Yeah. So there's another example. One successfully completed update is overridden by another user. This is the basic aspect within the updation problem. The problem example is that T1 withdrawing $10 from account balance this one initially 100. Initially, the balance was 100, and at time T1, that is a transaction T1, and $10 were basically withdrawn. And the transaction 2, depositing 100 into same account. This was a transaction 2. And CRD final balance would be 190. So if the things are carried out properly, here the balance was 10, 100, and 10 was basically extracted from that, and then it keep up to 90, and now 100 is then that should be. So what had happened? Let's suppose we took the two transactions. See, that's the transaction T1, the transaction T2, yeah. At T time 1, yeah, this begins. And when this T2 begins, it say there is 100 pounds available with the balance. It say at time T2, he say read balance. The 100 is there. At T2 also another time transaction T1 begins. He say read balance 1. Okay. So he also read the balance 1, and at T2 he is saying the balance should be increased by 10, 100. So it is say write J. So it is writing that. When it is writing that, the balance should be 200 now. And what happened when this transaction T1 reads the data, at that moment the balance was 100. So he say 10 should be 10 should be withdrawn from that. So then the balance here should be 90. He said commit that, and he committed that after the commitment of T2. Even the T2, this committed, it should be 200, but the commitment leads to some sort of 90, because here say write balance 90 and commit 90. So there is some sort of drawback. So loss of T2's update avoided by preventing T1 from reading balance until after update. So this was the last update problem. Now uncommitted dependency problem. So it may happen that uncommitted dependency occurs as a result of one transaction viewing the intermediate result of another transaction before that transaction has been committed. For example, the transaction 1 is being carried out and still that has not been fully successfully committed. So within that intermediate period, and other transactions basically that's also intervening, yeah, and viewing the data. So we have to say if such scenario occurs, and this is called uncommitted dependency problem. Again, this the uncommitted dependency problem occurs as a result of one transaction viewing the intermediate result of another transaction before that transaction is carried out. It means one transaction has been carried out and still it is in fancy, it has not been successfully completed. In the meantime, another transaction is viewing that data, that the intermediate results. So if such situation occurs, we say uncommitted dependency problem. Like this is transaction A, this is transaction B. So within the transaction A, we are saying in the very beginning there were 10 seats and one seat was added. So it may go to for 11 seats if say, and we say write record. The seats basically no 11 here. This is read record the transaction 2. He has say now the seats available are 11 because it has written the record. And here they have 11 sheets. At time T5, the transaction is a rollback. When it roll back, then it will reach the previous status in which the sheets were 10. And here you say rollback, whereas this transaction B is considering these are the 11. When it rolled back, the status was sheets 10. whereas the transaction B now considers sheets 11. That is ambiguity. So we say added 5 more to the 11. So we got this result as 16, and they have committed that data. Whereas this transaction A has been rolled back, so the data should be 10. And here for the transaction B, if they had committed that, the result should be 15 rather than 16. So in that manner, this uncommitted dependency problem may occur. It only when a transaction is viewing the data from the another transaction that is still in its period and still not completed. Yeah, so it might happen that the intermediate results had been get for the for the transaction those is carried out, and so in that manner the data may not be good. The third one, inconsistent analysis problems. For that, we have dirty read, we have non-repeatable read, and we have phantom read. The three reads, we have to see it. A transaction that is only from a database can also suffer problems, particularly if the read partial results of incomplete transaction. It only say that although we are not updating the data, but we just accessing the data, we're reading the data from a database. So what problems that may suffer? It may be that from where I am reading the data, that is basically partially, that transaction is partial results of incomplete transactions. So we get that at that intermediate level. So this is basically a problem with that. This type of problem sometimes a dirty read or non-repeatable or unrepeatable read. So what had happened? A transaction that solely read from a database can also suffer problem. What is a problem? Particularly if the read partial results of incomplete transactions. Transaction still not complete, there was some sort of intermediate results for that, because we have seen for a single transaction, there might be some sort of unit of actions, and the unit of actions mean it may contain 2, 3, 4, 5, but we take it as a logical unit. Although these actions were taken, these are being carried out, and when they were carried out, yeah, the data was accessed by another. So that read is basically the dirty read. Regarding dirty read, a transaction reads data that has been written by another as yet uncommitted transaction. We have already learned within our previous slides that if the thing is still not committed, let's suppose I will go back and let you. Here, this transaction A is not committed. Yeah, it is rolled back. So the transaction B has got the data when that was in this state and still not fully committed. Yeah, and it rolled back and it got the data from what was left by the transaction A when it was in intermediate state. So this data was basically wrong, and they have manipulated that data and they have committed the data. So when we say that a transaction reads the data when another transaction is still not committed, so that is the dirty read. Further, we have non-repeatable read. A transaction reread the data that has previously read, but another committed transaction has modified or deleted the data in the intervening period. So this is another aspect. A transaction reread the data that it has previously read. For example, at t time t1, I read the data, yeah, but another committed transaction has modified. Might be it modified at time t2, but again I reread the data. Might be at time t3. So in that manner, I get the data that is basically updated. So in that modified or deleted the data in the intervening period. So I will get that. So such read is called non-repeatable read. The third one is phantom read. The phantom read, we say the transaction execute a query that retrieves a set of rows satisfying a certain search condition. We have executed some sort of query conditionally. When the transaction re-executes the query at the later time, additional rows are returned because within that time that there might be the data is updated. So are returned that have inserted by another committed transaction in the intervening time. So when I read some sort of data, retrieve some sort of data, yeah, under certain conditions, and when the transaction re-executed, might be I have executed after T2 or after T3 after some time. So in that manner, the data is updated. So within that intervening period between the transaction T1 and T2 that is carried out after some time. So that is called phantom read. So within this one, yeah, we have say we discussed three reads. One is the dirty read, a non-repeatable read, and the phantom read. Now again, we have to discuss the serializability. We say that the transaction should be carried out in a serial way. If they are carried out in a serial way, might be we may avoid such things. So to identify those non-serial schedules that may behave as serial schedules, in that they produce a database state that could be produced by a serial execution. So serializability is very much related to that the transaction should be carried out in a serial way. If we say they are not carried out as per schedule, not not in a serial way, but they produce the database state that could be produced by serial, it may be considered that has been carried out serially. So serialized to identify those executions of transactions guaranteed to ensure consistency. So the serializability would identify if any transactions are carried out and the data is always consistent, either that is the non-serial schedule or the serial schedule. So this is regarding the serializability. So objective of concurrency control protocol is to schedule transitions in such a way as to avoid any interference. So whether when we think about concurrency control protocols, we likely to say the database management systems assures us that the transactions scheduled are to be carried out in a way that there is no interference, though no interfere with transaction one, transaction two, so and so. So such interference may be avoided in order to keep our data consistent. So could run transactions serially, but this limits the degree of concurrency or parallel in system. If we say that all the transactions should be carried out serially, nothing is there, but it say that it may limit the degree of concurrency. It means that we can't access the data simultaneously, or we can't help the users to read the data simultaneously. And if we say the only the transaction should be carried out serially. Regarding seriality, we have schedule, and schedule means the sequence of read write by a set of concurrent transactions. How the concurrent transaction should be carried out, whether they are for read, whether they are for write, what is their sequence, and this is basically schedule. And within the schedule, we say where the operations of each transaction are executed consecutively without any interleaved operations from other transactions. If that is serial schedule, then the transactions carried out one by one after each other and in a consecutive order. And we also expect there is no interference and no interleaved operations from other transactions at that moment. In a serial schedule, one transaction must complete before the next transaction is allowed to begin. It is the restriction with that. If you say that we are dealing with the serial schedule, only the next transaction should be carried out when the first instruction that is being executed, that is in complete in all respects. When there is a serious schedule, it may guarantee that when executed, it never leave database in any inconsistent state, because all the transactions are carried out in a proper order. So when a transaction is completed, then the other is started. When the other is completed, then the next is started. So in that manner, we can expect there is no database inconsistency within these states. However, no guarantee that result all the serial execution of a given set of transactions will be identical. It depends upon if they are going to be carried out in a sequence way, and if the data is at some time updated, yeah, and there is no guarantee that all serial execution of given set of transaction will be identical. Yeah. Then other is non-serial schedule. So schedule is said to be non-serial schedule when the operation from a set of concurrent transactions are interleaved. It means there is more than one person working on the same table or working on the same records concurrently. So in that manner, we say that non-serial schedule. A non-serial schedule is said to be correct if produces the same result as soon as serial execution. It depends upon if there is no malfunctioning and there is no the problems that we have already discussed, lost update, etc. If those are not occurring set at the S moment, we can say that it may produce the same results as the serial execution. A correct non-serial schedule is described as being serializable. If a correct non-serial schedule, it may be only correct when we say it produces the same result as the result we may get from the serial executions of your transactions. So database systems do not test for serializability of the schedule directly, but deploy protocols, locking and time sharing. Although these protocols are there, but these are pessimistic protocols. They are applicable within the database management systems, and in order to go for that serializability, that all the transaction should be carried out in a way there should be no inconsistency within the databases. So for that we have mechanism for locking and timestamping. The locking procedure is used to control concurrent access of data. When one transaction is accessing the database, a lock may be deny access to other transaction to prevent incorrect result. So in that manner, that the locking help when the transaction is carried out and still it is not committed, and within that intermediate period, none of other transactions may interfere what is happening in the first transaction, and that is locked basically. So we can't access the data at that moment of that record or that table that is being processed. So if that is locked, if the table is locked, that may be logged for read, that may be logged for write, yeah. And when it is locked, it deny access to the transaction those are attempting to access that data. It ensures serializability of concurrent transactions. Surely, it may help in ensuring serializability, because when a transaction is in process and there is no interference from other transactions within this period when still it is not committed, so in that manner we say that the serializability has been ensured. The lock prevents another transaction from modifying the item or even reading it in case of an exclusive lock. If we say that the clause lock may be exclusive or might be sharing, so in that manner it prevents other transactions to modify the data. There may be shared lock or there may be exclusive lock. If the transaction has been shared lock on a data item, it can read the item but not update it. So if that is declared as any item, data item, that is the column values, and if you say that is a shared lock, so it can be read but not be updated. And if we have exclusive lock, if transaction has exclusive lock on a data item, it can both read and update the item. It depends upon your locking scenario. So the locking is for the read logs, for the write logs. And that the read log gives only read access to data and prevents any other transaction from updating the log data. So it is apparent from its name that if read logs, it gives only read access to the data, but not of the updating. And if you say this is write logs, that is exclusive log, write log gives the both read and write access to the data item. It also prevent another transaction from reading or writing to the data item. The concern is this: whenever a table or this item is locked, yeah, it may be a read lock or maybe a write lock. But between that, no other transactions can interfere that until it is committed or until it is successfully completed. No, another aspect is two-phase locking. It divides transition life into growing phase of the shrinking phase. There's a two phase for that. One is growing phase and other the shrinking phase, which is a two-phase locking. The growing phase means it acquires all the logs needed to perform its work. That is a growing phase in which it acquires all the logs needed to perform its work. And shrinking phase in which it releases its logs. So this is the two aspect within the two-phase locking. And rather a one another thing that is different from the locking, that is basically time spent stamping. So time stamping protocols are used to order the transaction based on their timestamps. What does mean timestamps? It might be depend upon the clock of the system. So the order is that transaction is nothing but ascending order of the transaction regarding its creation. Whenever a transaction is created and other transaction is created after that, so this should be the order, and it also sets the priority of that. The transaction which entered the system earlier has high priority, and that entered after that. If say that I entered a transaction and other also person entered a transaction and the third person also entered a transaction, and if they are time stamped properly, then they have the priority of the first person, then the second priority of the second and third priority, and so in order to execute uh, your your transactions. So when you have a timestamp method, it is different from locking method. There is no locks within the timestamp because you are carrying out your transactions according to your timestamp, and therefore can be no deadlock. So it might happen within our locking system. There might be some sort of deadlock. For example, a person is looking for to change the data, and the same data is acquired for another transaction, and both are on that. They have stuck with that, and none of them is able to go for the transaction they are looking for. So there is a deadlock. So when there is time stamping, there is no such deadlock occurs. Locking method generally prevent conflicts by making transaction wait, whereas the stem method there is no waiting occurs and the transaction involved in conflicts are simply rolled back and restarted. This is a major difference between that. When we lock a table or we lock a record, and the other transaction, those likely to access that record, they're waiting for that. So until that lock is released, but such thing is not within the stamping methods. So in this way, there is no waiting occurs. Only the transactions is carried out according to their priority of the entrance into the system. But if there exists some sort of conflicts, So at that moment, the system may roll back and restarted. So regarding transaction completion, it has two SQL statement. One is commit and other is rollback. And the syntax is this is commit and this is rollback. Commit means the changes that has been carried out by that execution of that transaction should be finalized and should be a change made within the database what have been carried out, so it is now permanent. And the rollback means the things are not happening as desired, or there might be some sort of malfunctioning, and we are not sure that the data should be updated properly. So we have to say we have to roll back our transactions. So it will reach the previous state of the database. And this may, in that manner, you may prevent the inconsistency that may arise there. So the commit statements make permanent changes to the database. The rollback undoes all changes made in an unsuccessful transaction. But again, I say the transaction may be of a single statement, might be a group of statements. Those are taken as a logical unit, as one unit. So if I roll back, it will discard all the action those are carried out, and we are reaching back to the point where the data we feel that was consensus data. So transaction can complete in following two ways: a commit statement and the transaction successfully, making the database changes permanent. A new transaction starts after commit with the next transaction initiating statements. So if this is so, though the serial way they are all executing properly in order and serializability ensured, then there might be no problem for that the transaction has been not carried out successfully. The further there is a rollback statement about the transaction, what the actions has been taken, and they are back and back out any changes made by transactions. A new transaction starts after rollback with the next transaction issued statement. When the rollback is complete, again we are in the previous state, then we again our start our new transactions. So SQL commands such as create table, create index usually automatically commit when we creating a table, and after that we say the table has been created. So we are not giving any commit statement. So this is automatically committed. Similarly, if we create index for any table, that is also automatically committed. Yeah, this is one of the example for the transaction complete. We say that we have a data for the student ID, name and age. The three columns are there. And I say delete from student where age greater than 18. So I have to say there are two records of 18, other are greater than 18. I say delete those records. So I say output, this is committed. Yeah, this is like this one. Yeah. And if you say I haven't committed this one, I say rollback, and I say rollback output should be the same table. Yeah. If we say I have committed that, yeah, and after committing this should be the output, and it may not be rolled back if we have committed that. Okay. So there is also a transaction statement, that is set transaction command. Set the characteristics of the current transaction, how the current transaction should be carried out, what should be its effect. It is a no effect on the subsequent transactions. It is only for that transaction that is carried out. We say set transaction read only, read, write, isolation level, read committed, so and so. These are the syntax aspect of the set transaction command. If read committed, a statement can only see rows committed before it begin. That is the default. The read commit is default. The statement can only see rows committed before it begin. and serializable. All statements of the current transaction can only see rows committed before the first query or the data modification statement was executed in this transaction. Query or other modification statements were executed in this transaction. So one is the isolation level, how the transaction should be carried out in isolated way. So if the isolation level is hard, it is flexible. Let's suppose it is more accessible to the many users. The isolation level indicates the degree of interaction that is allowed from other transaction during execution of the transaction. So if this isolation level is upper, then it is some difficult for other users to interfere. So it is the degree of interaction that is allowed from other transaction during the execution of this transaction, they can interfere. The isolation level of transaction determine what data of transaction can we see when other transactions are running concurrently. So if those transactions are running simultaneously, so ISO level basically determines what data the transaction can see. Okay. The transaction isolation level cannot be changed after the first query of the data modification statement. If these statements are carried out here, so the isolation level cannot be changed. So these violations are permitted. We have say the dirty read and non-repeatable read and phantom read. For that, if you have say read uncommitted, read committed, and repeatable read and serializable. For the dirty read, that might be allowed, and for these three aspects not allowed. For not repeated read, these two aspects are allowed, where the two aspects not allowed. And within the phantom read, these three aspects, read uncommitted, read committed, these are allowed, but this is not allowed. And the other aspect regarding is the immediate and deferred integrity constraints. So integrity constraints can be checked immediately after the execution of SQL statement or the transaction commit. So a constraint may be defined as initially immediate or initially deferred. Deferred mode is initially immediate. Default mode is basically initially immediate. So there are two modes, whether we have to check that that is initially immediate or initially deferred, to check whether the constraints are properly followed or not after the execution of the SQL statement. So if we say deferred integrity constraints are those that are not enforced until the user attempts to commit the transaction. So if we defer that, so integrity credits are checked until we have user commit the transaction. A constraint is deferred if the system checks that it is satisfied only on commit. If deferred constraint is violated, then commit causes transaction to undo. Again, I say when the deferred integrity aspect is considered, these constraints are those that are not enforced until user attempts to commit, until it is committed. When he may do some sort of transaction, until he is not committing that, the deferred it contains are not enforced. If the constraint is immediate, not deferred, then it is checked at the end of each statement. If it is violated, the statement is rolled back immediately. So within this, for whenever any statement is executed, this immediate concern is basically you have to check the constraints. But in this defer mode, you have to defer until the transaction is committed by the user. So two SQL command that we have already discussed, that is privilege that may be given by the database administrator that may to grant and revoke. So that may be privileges are two types: so system and object. This includes permission for creating session, table, etc., and all types of other system privileges. Object, this includes permission for any command or query to perform any operation on the database. These are two, then the grant and revoke. We have already studied this grant and revoke privileges in our previous lectures. So grant is provide any user the access of the databases, and the revoke method that granted privileges should be withdrawn. So these are the two aspects of grant and revoke. So this is a syntax of grant privileges, all privileges on object name to author so and so. We have studied this one in previous and give you some sort of examples. So these examples are grant and revoke. Grant create table to username. The in order to create a table, you have been granted the permission, and grant select. You can read the data, and this is also given on so and so. Revoke create table from username. In this manner, the user can't create a table. So revoke select on staff. The user can't read the data from staff. So these are the examples of those. This is a summary of the command that we have already studied, and what I advise you have to go for lab and try to execute all these statements those we have already studied. So, but in today's lecture, what we discussed that what does mean a transaction, and how the transaction should be carried out. If the data is accessed simultaneously by more than one users, and if they are making some sort of changes in the database, in the tables, and how those should be controlled in order to keep our data consistent. So the concurrency control is the basic idea, and for that we have to go for that how our database management system ensure that the data should be consistent at the end when the transaction should be carried out properly. So if the transactions are not carried out successfully and not committed, and within that there is some sort of ambiguity with the software or hardware, and we have to roll back or we have to abort the transactions, then the database systems must help us to reach the previous status that from where we have started our transactions. So for each should be executed in serial. If they are carried out in serial way and one command is executed and the transaction is successfully completed with the help of you say commit command, so you have never some sort of interference or from the other user during that aspect. So in that manner the data might be consistent. Furthermore, the log and the time stamping helps the database management systems. Those are giving some privilege to the users how the data should be logged and time stamped in order to carry out our transactions in a proper way. So thank you so much.